Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining me once again.
It's good to be with you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. It is a busy day. The 119th Congress kicks off today, and House Speaker Mike Johnson is off to a tough start. He's facing a tough, tight vote to keep the gavel. Republicans, as you know, have a slim majority, and the way the math is shaping up, he can only afford to lose one Republican vote. And Congressman Thomas Massie, a Republican from Kentucky, has already said he is not supporting Johnson. So, first, to kick off the conversation, do you think he has the votes?
I do think he will have the votes. I'm not 100% sure it will be in the first round, but I do believe that he will be the speaker by the end of the day. There is nobody else that is running. No one else is seeking the position. So to just throw a name out there, doesn't make much sense. We need to go into this Congress united, and we need to go in with strength so we can work on President Trump and the Republican agenda of securing our borders, of getting our economy back on track, of extending the President Trump's tax cuts that helped create millions of jobs and lifted millions of Americans out of poverty while bringing us record low unemployment. And we have a lot of work to do, right, to jumpstart in our domestic energy production. And we have to be united to do that. And so we should be wasting any time. The American people are not interested in show horses today. They want workhorses, and we need to get to work as soon as possible.
You said in another interview that you've had conversations with Speaker Mike Johnson about how you think he could run the conference better. Can you talk to us a little bit about those conversations and where he's willing to compromise?
Yeah, look, obviously there's members, myself included, who may not have liked everything that the speaker has done and how he ran the House. But we also have to recognize that it's a very difficult job when you only have 1/3 of the federal government, and that was by a very, very slim margin. We still had a Democrat president, we still had a Democrat Senate, and so there had to be some room for negotiation. My issue was negotiating with the other side and not coming to your membership first for buy-in or to build consensus before shaking those hands. I found that to be problematic. I just thought we need to have better communication going into this session. And I think it'll be very different with a Republican trifecta, and he will be in a much better position to implement the things that we wanted to see done. So many of our bills did pass the House of Representatives. It was the problem that they got killed by Chuck Schumer in the Senate, whether it was border security, whether it was domestic energy production, whether it was the Lake and Riley Act to deport people in this country who are illegally here committing crimes. These are pieces of legislation that were all good, but unfortunately they got stalled in the Senate. So I think that we have better communication. And in addition to that, helping rank and file members score legislative wins for their communities, for their districts and constituents back home. And so I gave the idea that, let's let's collect the legislative priorities of our members and try to work on those throughout the year so everyone's not jockeying to get in some type of end of year package. And I think that would go a long way, being also ensuring that these bills do not cost money, that they're not controversial. We can help rank and file members get legislative wins for their districts and become more effective leaders here.
I know there's one no vote as of now. A few other of your GOP colleagues are uncommitted. Have you talked to those uncommitted colleagues of yours? How have those conversations looked like, and what are they looking for to change that maybe to a yes to vote for Speaker Johnson?
Well, look, I did speak with one yesterday, and they have their reasonings, and some are based on principle, their actual beliefs. Some might be a little more petty. And I think that we need to look at the bigger picture here and recognize that we have members in our conference that come from all over the country. They have very different constituencies. They have very different political realities. And they are across the political spectrum. And we have to respect that and recognize that we have to work with with each other to come up with solutions. On 80 or 90% of the issues, we agree. It's sometimes when you get down to the details of how we get there or what are some of the details in those pieces of legislation that may cause some friction. And so I think we have to recognize as a conference and as a Congress as a whole that we are not going to get everything we want all the time. It's not the way life is. It's not the way the government is. It's not the way business is. It's a give and take. It's a negotiation. And as long as we respect our colleagues and understand where they're coming from, I think we can resolve a lot of these issues moving forward. We have a lot on the table this year. We're going to have a reconciliation package that I hope includes the extension of President Trump's tax cuts that, as I said, were very good for the economy, double the standard deduction for American families, double the child tax credit for families, and it eliminated the alternative minimum tax, which was crushing to the middle class communities like the one I represent. We have an opportunity to build on that. I hope we can do that by adding some relief for state and local taxes, SALT, as well as lowering taxes for our senior citizens who are on Social Security. Some of these items were among the most talked about during the presidential campaign. But we have to get there by building consensus. And there's members who want, particularly border states, that want certain measures implemented to secure the border. We all want the border secure. Even somebody who represents New York City that may be far away from the southern border, I have concerns about the northern border, and certainly the migration crisis has hit New York like no other city. So I want to work with them on that. And also we have the energy producing states, that this is an important thing for not just our national security, but American jobs, for lowering costs for families who are getting hit with high energy prices and energy bills and food costs. So if we put all this stuff together in one reconciliation and we work with each other as opposed to looking outside of our conference, I think we can get it done, and we can put together a very good product for the American people that addresses their top issues coming into this year.
Congresswoman, I only have you for a few more minutes, so I just want to hit two other topics. First, something that's impacting New York City this weekend, and that is congestion pricing. It will cost $9 for drivers to come into Manhattan if they enter on local streets between 60th Street and below. What's your reaction to this going into effect?
Well, this is a real slap in the face to the New Yorkers of Governor Hochul's creation, right? This was Governor Hochul and the MTA that have schemed to move forward with congestion pricing, which is nothing more than a tax. It is a cash grab. It will not reduce congestion. That's why they anticipate making $1 billion a year with it. And it comes at a terrible time. Our city is still recovering economically. It has been hit by this migration crisis that our mayor and our governor incentivized and Joe Biden created. It is struggling, with crime. We saw a woman lit on fire on the subway. We saw people stabbed and shot recently, killed on the subway. So people do not feel safe. The governor needs to make our transit system safe if she wants people to ride it. We should not be just forcing people to pay another tax to try to hope to get them on the subway. And I will say something else. Mayor Adams spent many years as a transit cop. He knows what needs to be done to make our city subway safe, and yet he has not done it. And so what I would say is, instead of trying to hammer people over the head with another tax to try to force them onto the subway system, make the subway safe, and people will gladly opt for commuting via public transportation. So we still have one last-ditch effort here. Our colleagues in New Jersey are seeking a temporary injunction today in court at 3 p.m. Fortunately, the judge in the New York case denied that temporary injunction. I think it should be granted in New Jersey, and hopefully that will be able to halt this program. I've also spoken with President Trump about it, and he recognizes how harmful this is to New York and its economy as a New Yorker himself. And so I still have hope that he will work with us. We're exploring those legal avenues now of what can be done if it does go into effect prior to his inauguration. And we will try to push that. But again, we're trying to find a federal solution to a problem that was created by the state, by the Democrats of New York State legislature and our governor. And those are the ones who have to be held accountable here. And I hope people will be paying attention when she's up for re-election in 2 years.
One more final question. In the first hours of 2025, we saw a really horrific scene unfold in New Orleans. A man rammed his truck into a crowded street on Bourbon Street, bunch of celebrators. There was 14 people at least have died, over 30 injured in an act of terrorism. You're a representative from New York City. When you see this type of thing happen the first day of 2025, do you think there are increased terror threats in the country right now?
Yeah, this was a tragic start to the new year, and our condolences go to the families who lost their loved ones. It is certainly always been a concern of mine, and I've talked about this on the floor. I'm very concerned about not just ISIS-inspired attacks, but individuals who are here that have actually come into our country. In this case, it was someone who served in our military. Our military is, made up of people that we respect, we appreciate, we admire, and yet here's a veteran, and then in Las Vegas, an active duty military member who turned around and killed the very citizens and committed a terrorist attack in a nation he's supposed to be protecting. We have to look at that closely and examine what led to that. Because that is something that is so scary and dangerous to think that our own military members and veterans would be committing acts of terrorism here at home. I'm also very concerned about, obviously, the open border. Are there other individuals that are in this country that are planning attacks? We know that we caught hundreds of people on the terror watch list at our border in the interior. 5,000 ISIS-K and al-Qaeda fighters, terrorists, were released from Bagram in the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. We saw the ISIS-K fighter who turned to be a suicide bomber that killed 13 of our service members. And those are now the ISIS-K members, perhaps, that are inspiring this attack that occurred here. And so we really, and it's a good thing President Trump is coming in because he'll take this very seriously. The FBI, the CIA, the intelligence community, we have to focus on the real threats of this country. And I have confidence that there'll be a shakeup at these federal agencies, particularly Department of Homeland Security as well, so we can secure our nation and prevent these types of attacks.
I appreciate all of your insights on the wide-ranging conversation here, and I hope you can join me again soon. Congresswoman Malliotakis, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It's good to be with you again.